Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of How Did They Build That? This is the Glide edition. In these videos, we'll take a look at an app from the Glide template store and we'll take a look at how it was built. We'll deconstruct how it was built and along the way, we'll also learn a few things about Glide. So, in today's video, we'll take a look at this template called podcast, which is developed by Glide, and we'll take a look at how it was built. So the first step to do is for us to click on the copy app for free button. This will copy the app into our Glide account, and it will copy the required spreadsheets as well, and then take us to the podcast app for us to be able to edit the app. There you go. So we have this app loaded on our screen right now. And let me just drag myself here a little bit. Cool. Now, before we look at how it was built, let's take a look at what this app is all about. So let's take it for a spin. And so what you have here is on the home screen, you have this image, some text, and some featured episodes. If I click on one of these, I go onto the detailed screen where I can see the name of the author, the person whose potentially whose podcast it is, and some content over here. If I click on this, not sure if you could hear it instantly, but essentially when I click on this, it plays the audio file for this particular podcast, and I can hear it. And so when you try this out, you should be able to hear it as well. If I click on all episodes tab, I can see a list of all the different episodes that were here. Click on any one of these and I should be able to play that particular episode as well. I can always click on favorites, and what that will do is if I click on the favorites tab, it should show up over here. So a fairly simple app. Let's take a look at how it was built. I'm really curious how the audio files were added, and so I've not taken a look at this before in terms of the functionality. So I'm taking a look at it along with you in this recording. So the first one is this home screen where I have these various elements. You can see it starts off with an image. So there's just a photograph, which is fine. We just add a simple image element, photo element, and just load this photograph. The next one is a rich text. So this we are getting it from this column called about, and this is essentially Markdown Content. And this Markdown Content, because you've used the rich text field, it basically converts Markdown into the relevant HTML code, and it adds all the various rich text elements, right? Like headings and bold text and underlines and all of those things. Then we have the third component, which is called Inline List, and the title for this featured episodes. Now the source for this is pulling it from this featured episodes relation. So it's a column type called relation. We'll see the spreadsheet in a minute and see how it was linked. But essentially it's pulling it from there. It has the name, title, and image. So that's essentially what the details are being posted here on these squares. In terms of the options, it does not look like there's too many options except for the sort, which is fine. In terms of the screen itself, there's no options except for sort, and we don't have an option to edit the form. All good? So let's take a look at the spreadsheet. So this is the content that the app uses, and so everything that you need should be here. So you can see the home spreadsheet or the home sheet for in this file. you have just a single row with multiple columns, and essentially this is a neat way to sort of store multiple fields that you need. So like metadata for your app that you require it in various places, you just store it in just one row in one sheet and then just use it. So that's a nice way to do that. You have markdown content that I talked about before. You have a photograph there, and you have featured episodes. So featured episodes, this is the relation type that we talked about before. And if I click on edit, I can see how it was pulled. So essentially what it's doing is, it is matching, so this is of column type relation, and a relation column type is essentially used to match, is to link two different sheets together, data from two different sheets together, and it has to link them based on a cell value that should be common across both the sheets. So in this case, what it's doing is, it says that look at the episodes column in this sheet, which is the home sheet, and match the value to the category column in the episodes sheet. Right, so it is sort of matching these two values, and we are saying match multiple because we expect more values to be pulled from the destination. So this is the source, this is the destination. So we expect more values to be matched at the destination, we pull them, and so hence that's what it's doing. So in terms of the context of why this must have been there, so it's like a category, right? So the episode might have, and we have not looked at this before, but I assume that those episodes, these three episodes, have featured has one of the, you know, in that column value, it has the word featured, and hence it's pulling these three episodes. So let's take a look and confirm if our understanding is correct or incorrect. So you have episode and episodes. So this sheet basically hosts all your podcasts episodes, and you have name and the title column, which is just text, and then you have audio file. So this is the audio file that basically has the podcast episode. So they're using the audio file here. Obviously you can use any other audio file as well, as long as MP, looks like it's just MP3. So just MP3, and if I look at the column type, it's showing as none, but obviously this is, I'm guessing that this is part of the spreadsheet itself, so that's fine. It's just an audio file. You have date published, some description. So this is again markdown content. Then you have links. So the guest of these of those podcast episodes have a few links. So that's where the links are coming from. You have image. So this is essentially the image URL that you need to add here, and therefore when you look at it here, it shows up with the images. And this is the category that we were talking about. So category here, it could be anything, right? So if you essentially, what we're doing here is we're marking a few of these podcast episodes as featured. So when you mark it as featured, we want it to show up in the home page. And so the best way to mark it as featured is to just basically add this in this column, just add a text called featured, and then in the home tab, in the home sheet here, this column builds this relation and essentially matches the word featured from the column here in episodes with the word featured in the category column of the episodes sheet, and essentially we have three of them, so all three of them have been pulled up. So not too complicated. Essentially what we're doing is, I think in terms of what we had a look at new in this app. The first one is the audio file. I think that we have not looked at before. So we looked at how to add an audio file. So that's great. And podcasts these days, you would have heard everyone's making a podcast. So if you want to make a personal app that stores a list of the podcasts that you want to listen to, or you want just have audio files, or you want to make an app for someone else, and they want to share their podcast episodes, then this is an app to copy. And essentially the audio files are just mp3 links that you give out. And then the second thing that we looked at is the relationship column type, column type called relation. And we looked at it we talked about it in more detail in this episode. We have talked about it before as well, but here we really boil it down in terms of how the relation works, how it matches a value from one column in the source sheet to the value in another column in the destination sheet, and then basically pulls the data, links it together, and pulls the data from the destination to the source. So that's something that we took a look at. Now, in terms of the second tab, you have just all episodes. So here we have a list. We just have a simple list over here, and we just have a simple list over here. Tiles. It just pulls. So because this is coming from the all episodes, if I click over here, you can see that the source is essentially all episodes. Source is all episodes, and that's where all the information is coming from. You can set a tab icon over here. We have a microphone icon, so that works great. If I click on the inline list, which is this list here, you can see that because we have linked it with the episodes sheet, we have access to the columns like name and title and image, and we're just pulling that through here. This is a template where I've seen the text size as large. Usually it's always set as small. That's a different thing here. Obviously you can change this to circle if you wanted to. A lot of options for you there. And then when I click on any one of these titles, I can see that the action for that is view details. So if I click on this one here, I can see that the action here is to view the detail page, which is so in the previous page you view all the rows, and then when you click on one, you just basically view the contents for a single row. So we have all of these options here. So you have just various components, a lot of components used, essentially whatever information you had before, whatever information we were storing before, we have added elements for that. So to add new elements, you just click on the plus button here, and then you add the elements or the components to your screen. And so for audio, there's this component called audio. Play an audio file from a link. So you don't have to actually store the entire audio file. There's videos as well. You can embed another video from YouTube or Vimeo, etc. But yeah, this is an audio component that we've used. And of course, there's a lot of other components like there's comments, there's separators, a lot of links for the website and for Twitter. You have a rich text description, so you can process markdown files, and then you have favorites, which should be another one here. So you have favorite, which is an ability to mark an item as favorite, and so you click on that, it's marked as favorite, and if you go back, you can view all your favorites over here. So yeah, so once you so essentially what happens is when you add the favorites component, when you go back, you'll have this favorites tab configured over here for you. So this is the glide built-in feature, which allows you to configure this option for you, and get users to add items as favorites. Now one thing to note is that when you click on something as favorite, it will by default glide will use the row key. So that is, if this was in the 7th row, then that's what it will use as the row key. So if you add new columns to delete rows, if you add new rows and delete rows, then that means your favorites might not work correctly. So what you can do is you can click on one of these, click on favorites, and set a key over here. And so if if we use the row ID as a column, and we are not using it here, so but if we did happen to use that, then we could set that here. Obviously it's not using that right now, so it's probably just using the default ones. The other thing I'd like to point out is that if, let's say, if you want to change the text of this element or any other element, really, you can click on the list label and say set podcast set no mark episode as favorite. Oops, probably in the wrong field. Here, list field. So you have the label instead of the list label. And then there you go. Really, that's what we wanted. I guess the list label would show up here. So this is where the list label shows up. So we don't want that. Maybe you can say view favorite episodes. And so now if you go back, you have that text showing up here in this button. So that's a small configuration that we could do, but essentially that's really what this app is all about. You have it's simple 2-page app. You're using, in terms of what's different here, you're using rich text, you're using audio files, and then we're using favorites. So we have 3 new concepts, and of course we took a look at relation type, relation column type in much more detail. We spoke about it in much more detail. So hopefully this episode was insightful, and if you liked this episode, definitely give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And if you're interested in more other videos that I post on this channel, subscribe so you'll get my videos in your feed. And comment below and let me know what you think about this episode, and yeah, just let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more videos to come. See ya.